Hello, my name is Jason Wright, and I am the Communications Manager for the Georgia Tech Library. I'm glad you joined me today for our webinar, Marketing Library Instruction in Higher Education. In this webinar, I'm going to take you through my process for marketing the Georgia Tech Library's supplementary education classes and workshops. First, just a little bit about me. My name is Jason Wright, and I am the Communications Manager 2 here at Georgia Tech Library. I've been here at the library for about 8.5 years, and previous to that, I worked in local government doing public relations for right at 6 years. Before that, I was a reporter. That's actually what I went to undergrad for, was journalism. And so I worked in magazines, business-to-business publications, newspapers, doing publication design, writing, editing, photography, all that stuff. And I was an editor of a number of papers. And then unfortunately, 2007 happened and it was time to switch over to one of the communities that I covered, Milton, and that's when I started doing PR. And from there, went to Georgia Tech. Okay. In 2022, our librarians and archivists taught 374 classes and workshops supporting the curriculum at Georgia Tech, a more than 45% increase over 2021. Partially because of my promotional efforts, we were able to grow attendance 61% in those classes, reaching more than 10,300 students, faculty, and staff. These classes address everything from citation management to avoiding plagiarism to learning data visualization software like Python, Tableau, and SQL. Promoting these classes monthly through digital signage, email, our website, and social media, I'm able to help prove the worth and effectiveness of the library's experts to institute leadership and the campus community at large. I'm a firm believer that in today's higher education environment, where a university library must fight constantly for its piece of the funding pie, one of the most valuable services you can market to students, faculty, and staff is free, curriculum-supporting library instruction. This conclusion is supported by the findings of Bowles-Terry, who found that there is a statistically significant difference in GPA between graduating seniors who had library instruction and those who did not. In this webinar, we'll take you through a campaign cycle for marketing library instruction to specific audiences, from conceptualization to stakeholder identification and market segmentation, to strategic goal planning, to tactical execution and success metrics. I want to make one thing very clear. These methods I describe work best when undertaken as a team. You will need help to be as successful as possible. You can't figure out which classes are needed, develop the curriculum, promote and market the class, teach the class, and determine if you were successful. It will take a team of people working together. So, as we talk about each one of the steps involved, ask yourself, how can I build the relationships I need to execute a plan like this? Let's get started. The first question you must answer if you want to be successful in marketing classes and workshops to students, faculty, and staff is this: what can we as a library offer that makes us different from other units on campus? For instance, if you already offer courses, are they offered anywhere else on campus? If so, rethink if you need them too. If you can identify holes in what is offered around campus, for example, multimedia instruction for tools like Adobe Photoshop, do you have the expertise in-house to guide students, faculty, and staff? While engaging in this exercise, one of the most powerful tools you can utilize to help you identify paths to success is the Trustee Survey. It doesn't have to have research board approval necessarily, and it doesn't need to be entirely scientific, unless you want to publish, of course. Instead, set up a table outside a popular spot on campus and just ask students what they might like to learn. Invite faculty to a beer and wine event and ask where their students need help. The important thing here is building relationships and then acting on the data that you collect. Another helpful exercise at this step in the planning process is what's known as the environmental scan, defined by Mon and Kuntz as planning with an awareness of external and internal change. Simply do research on other similarly situated academic libraries. Do you have peer institutions? For Georgia Tech, a trusting comparison, because of the engineering focus, is Purdue. Go check out the library's website and see what types of classes or workshops they offer. Can you offer something similar? The next step includes asking, who do we serve? It might be very helpful here to utilize your own internal metrics or statistics to help answer this question. For instance, do you mostly see undergraduates checking out materials or using databases? Are most of your in-person research appointments with graduate students? These people you serve, those that can influence your environment, are what's known generally as stakeholders. More specifically, Harlan, Stewart, and Bruce define academic library stakeholders as all teaching, research, and administrative staff, undergraduate and postgraduate students, and a broad range of community groups, communities of practice, and professional groups. Once you've figured out who it is you serve, refer to your interviews from step 1, though this will often occur in tandem. Are the needs of undergrads different from graduate students? What about faculty? And these different groups, how might I best let them know about helpful workshops and classes? Undergraduates, for instance, use Instagram more, with 71% of people ages 18 to 29 utilizing the platform. Faculty, however, might be more interested in learning about your offerings through email. We've certainly found this to be true at Georgia Tech. When you decide the people you're trying to reach have different habits in media consumption or needs you might want to address specifically, you're doing what's called market segmentation. This is defined by Keegan and Green as the process of identifying specific segments of potential users with homogeneous attributes who most likely will respond in a similar way to a company's marketing mix. The important thing here, above all, is to try and create a balanced approach to reach each of these groups where they are most likely to already be. We've identified some need we can address, and the people who need what we offer. Now let's figure out how we're going to do it. Given we have limited resources and a definite timeline in which we want to address these issues, we're going to set our goals strategically. First up is understanding what success looks like. We want to be specific here because we're trying to convince others in the organization, or the university, that we need to divert resources like teaching time towards these efforts. So if our research tells us undergraduate students working on multimedia projects in the required courses need to learn how to use the Adobe Suite, that's what we'll focus on. We'll say that in year 1 of our efforts, we will use the method most useful for that group, in this case Instagram and Twitter used in tandem, to drive awareness of the courses. Our goal will be SMART, defined by UCLA in its Library Assessment Guide as specific, measurable, achievable, results-focused, and time-bound. So, we will say, in 2023, the library will utilize a twice-weekly posting schedule on Instagram and Twitter to bring a group of at least 20 students per session. Now you have a goal you can achieve. You know that you must post the classes to 2 social media channels multiple times a week, so that you can have at least 20 students in each class. Now, you simply have to achieve it. Now it's time to execute. Line up your experts. Have them schedule the classes. Post the classes to your website. From there, post the classes to social media and email them to students if you're able. If you have digital signage in the building, figure out a way to get the classes on the signage. Every little bit helps. Now, once you've got them in the class, ask them, how did you hear about this workshop? This will give you an idea of what's working. You'll probably get a mix of all your methods. Keep in mind, though, that what you will probably see most is, a friend told me. This friend is usually an influencer, defined by Kadara et al. As individuals that affect and guide their peers through their activity. Basically, this is the person who pays attention to the library's emails and social media presence and then tells others. If you're lucky, you might be able to track down this influencer and then have them help spread the word in a more organized fashion. This, friends, is what online marketing companies do and why it's so important for various internet celebrities to have millions of followers. I want to divert a bit here and talk about the importance of branding and design in your efforts. This could be its own webinar, but in short I want to address 3 things. The principles of good design, the importance of a similar look, feel, and experience to influence a perception of your organization of services, which McLaughlin says constitutes the definition of brand. And 3, the power of consistency. Let's look at a couple of examples to see what I mean by these concepts. First are the principles of good design. Again, I could talk at length about this, but really the most important things for you to focus on for most promotion are balance, restraint, and excitement. In balance, I mean making sure each of the elements you include in the visual piece work together. This includes fonts, colors, images. Feel free to experiment, but for the most part, you want to keep things simple. Simple is effective. When I say restraint, I'm talking about sticking to 2 or 3 fonts and colors per visual element. Feel free to go with 2. An easy rule to remember is, use a serifed font with a sans serifed one. Use thick with thin. When it comes to your colors, use your university's approved color guide. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Lastly, I want to talk about excitement. The average university student is hit with thousands of advertisements and images a day on campus. Clearly, you don't have the money, resources, or time to compete with the advertisers of Instagram, but you can do yourself a huge favor by trying to make the elements you use visually exciting. Here, again, lean on your university's resources. There are departments on campus who create images for promotion every day. Use those images as much as possible. They will have done most of the work for you. Next, the concept of brand. Notice that in these examples I use the same colors, the same fonts, and design elements. That's what's known as a visual brand. You'll also notice that in the calendar and social postings I use the same language again and again. After a while, you train your audiences that when they see those elements or that language, they're seeing content from your library. They begin to recognize your library's brand. Again, of course, lean on your university's brand efforts. See what other successful units do and mimic it. Lastly, I want to touch on consistency. Of course, I mean consistency in visual and text elements, like mentioned above, but I also mean consistency of message and of posting schedule. In my 14 years of executing messaging on social media, I've seen the same thing happen again and again. A unit or organization starts their presence but doesn't have the planning they need to keep the outlet alive over long periods of time. Perhaps the most important element is often overlooked. You simply must go out there and place your messaging over and over, day after day, month after month, year after year. The only way to chart growth is with consistency. Last is judging if we were successful and adjusting to see if we can do better. Remember how we said we wanted at least 20 students in each workshop or class? Did we achieve that? If so, then maybe we need to look at expanding. If not, let's figure out where we might have gone wrong. Either way, we're going to go back to step 1 and asking people who did show up why they did, or how they think we might be able to get more people like them next time. And if we didn't achieve what we wanted, we need to start looking at novel ways to try and achieve that goal next time. There's always room for improvement, even when we succeed. We simply need to listen to what our environment and the people in it are telling us. What we're trying to establish then is a continuous cycle of identifying stakeholder need, communicating with them to learn their social media consumption habits, setting goals strategically, providing solutions to their specific needs using the habits we've identified, and judging our success and the whole endeavor. It should roll. We should try and build on success year over year and always be growing, both as an organization and a professional in it. Are there any questions? Well, thank you very much for your time. And here are the works cited in this presentation. Again, I appreciate your time and look forward to meeting next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.